So when it comes to getting grades at Valley Christian, there are two different categories, and you may or may not be familiar with this, so I just like to explain it so that everyone is on the exact same page. So there are what are called formative assignments and summative assignments. Now, formative assignments normally consist of like the homework assignments, the check for understandings, the things we do in class, basically what we're doing to practice our skills. And then the summative assignment accumulates all of the skills that we've learned so far and puts them into like a testing environment. So a test or an exam, a cumulative essay, a project, these kinds of things would be summative assignments because they're taking what we have learned in the class and it's expecting the student to be able to show a level of mastery. So a formative assignment is for the practice aspect of our skills, and a summative assignment shows the mastery of the skills. So at Valley, in every single Valley Christian High School class, the formative assignments and the summative assignments are each going to weigh 50% of your quarter grade. So that means no matter how many points they add up to and how many points they add up to, whatever your average percentage is for your formative category, and the average percentages of your summative category will be put together to combine your quarter grade. So what that means is that if you have 100% on every single homework assignment, and then you go and take one test and you get a 50% on it, your grade for the class is going to be a 75, right in the middle, okay? So you can do really, really, really awesome on the formative, but if you don't study for tests and you take one test and there's only one grade in the summative category, then it can still dramatically tank your grade. So in survey of engineering, we actually do grades just a little bit differently than you might expect, than you're used to. So in my class, there are no tests, there are no quizzes. Everything that you get for homework actually can be completed in class. I will give you time to complete it in class. So there doesn't have to be any homework for this class either. Now that doesn't mean you're not doing any work because there are actually quite a few assignments to complete. The idea is that you're being given time in class to complete all of this work. So hopefully it makes it easier on the student. This is not supposed to be a labor-intensive class for our students. In fact, the intention of the class is to get our students engaged in STEM and excited about it. Even for students who might think that STEM is a little bit scary or intimidating, it is not supposed to be a difficult class. I'm a very lenient, very flexible person as a teacher and as a person. That being said, if you don't turn things in, I cannot give you credit for it. And so that is the biggest struggle that a lot of students have in my class, is that they don't turn things in or they turn them in very, very late, and therefore their grades are deducted as a result of it. So my grading itself is not particularly harsh, but rather my class really tests the time management of the students and how they're able to get their assignments turned in on time. So let me take a minute just to explain the late policy as it will be implemented in my classroom. So there will be a deadline for every single assignment, and I will do everything on Canvas, as most of your teachers should. And so because everything is on Canvas, you can see all of the deadlines, and I will show you exactly what that looks like in just a moment. But that deadline is the deadline to turn in your assignment for full credit, unless you have other accommodations, and I will talk to the Vine students and parents as well. So that deadline on Canvas is the deadline to turn in your assignments for full credit. For each day that you are late, you will receive a 20% deduction, okay? And it seems a little harsh, but I'm gonna tell you why it's not harsh, okay? So in my class, we do not have kind of daily deadlines for assignments. So even though we will be doing probably anywhere between 1 and 5 assignments a week, so we are still going to be doing things kind of on a daily and weekly basis, the deadline is not going to be the day that we do it or the next day. And that being said, like, I'm not going to assign you something, say, oh, you didn't finish it, so take it in and we're going to turn it in tomorrow. That may be what you're used to in other class settings, but that's not the way that my class works. So the way that my class grading works is that I collect all of the assignments at the very end of the unit. So you may have 15, 20 assignments due on one day, but that is because we have been working on it for 3 weeks, which is like 15 days in class, okay? So even though it looks like all of the assignments are due on one day, it's because you've already been given time in class to complete those assignments. I will never give you an assignment that I have not specifically given you time in class to complete. Now, a lot of it is time management on behalf of the students. That means that I may say, over the next 4 days, here is the project that you have to complete, and you have to complete these 4 assignments to go with it. Go, and I give the students the freedom to conduct their experiment and do the documentation and assignments that are affiliated with that project. And so it is based on the students' responsibility to manage their time well and make sure that they get their assignments completed and therefore turned in. Now, students do not have to wait until the very last day to turn in their assignments. They are very much encouraged to turn in their assignments as we go through the class. So for example, one of the first assignments we're going to do in class is called QFT, or the question formulation technique. This is a 1-day thing, meaning that we do the entire project in class in 1 day, and you have the rest of the class period to do the homework and turn in what you're supposed to turn in. So that is done on 1 day, and that can be turned in that day. And I encourage students to turn things in as we go along. So the reason that I do this kind of format for my grading is for 2 different reasons. Number one, for students who are absent, especially as we've had illness and other things that keep students out for long term. In addition to that, we have lots of students in athletics and art that cause them to be out actually rather frequently from class. And instead of trying to keep up with, oh, what did I miss? When's the deadline? What's the date? What's the extension? Instead of dealing with all of the extensions and those kinds of things, I just postpone the deadline to the end of the unit, which means that if you, the student, is absent from a class, that does not necessarily mean that you are excused from the work, but it does mean that you don't have to get it done on that exact day and turn it in or worry about a late penalty. That means that you have until the end of the unit to get back caught up on things. So really, I view this as a grace to the student, meaning that, hey, if you're going through a really busy time where you've got stuff going on at home, or you've got a test in 3 other classes, or you've got all these different things going on, and you just don't have time for something in my class, that's not the end of the world. Just make sure you get caught up on it later. So I really like to emphasize in my class the soft skills, the life lessons that the students can learn, and time management is one of the strongest skills that I think we can pursue for our students. And so that is why that I put my deadlines at the very end of the unit. That's the second reason. I said there were 2 reasons. One, it's easier for absent students because we have those a lot. And 2, because I think it's a really, really, really important soft skill for our students to learn. So I know that this is going to take some adjustment for some students and also some parents to understand how this class works. Why does my student have 15 assignments due on 1 day? It's not that I've assigned 15 assignments in 1 day, it's that I've assigned 15 assignments over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we've had time in class to do them, okay? So hopefully it will be a good and beneficial thing to your student. If it doesn't feel that way at the beginning, because in the first 2 units, a lot of students will procrastinate and think they have time and then not catch up, and then their grade tanks and they're like, oh, what happened? And if that happens to your student, please know that there is still time to make up credit in these areas, and it should be a learning process. So if your student gets a bunch of late penalties in Unit 2, the idea is that they take that mistake, they learn from it, and they don't do it again. So I'm all about the growth and helping advance our students in more ways than just what is engineering. Absolutely, I want them to learn problem-solving skills, but problem-solving over time is absolutely under that category. So hopefully you understand the idea that you are going to look on Canvas and see, oh my gosh, we have all of these assignments due on 1 day, and say, hey, if I actually go through the day-by-day lesson plans, then you can see that it's leveled out day by day and week by week what has been completed in class, so that you can check on your student to see if they have fallen behind. And I will show all of that on Canvas as well. Okay, so this is on Canvas. So I clicked on the syllabus page, and it'll take you here, and you can review certain documents related to the class. But if you click on summary, you are going to see the list of assignments that are due. And so you are going to see all of these assignments in order, 1.2, 1.3, 1.6. That means it's in Unit 1. And then if we scroll down, you're going to see 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. These are going to all be in Unit 2. And one thing I want to point out is that you can see that all assignments from Unit 1 and Unit 2 are all due on the same day. So we talked about how all of the assignments from a certain unit are going to be due on the same day. So this looks like a ton of assignments, right? But this is all of the assignments from Unit 1 and all of the assignments from Unit 2. Now, I told you that I'm going to give students time in class to work on all of these things, right? So I want to prove that to you by going to Unit 1. I'll go to Unit 1 lesson plans. Here's what we're going to do the first week of school. Here's 1.3 QFT introduction. This is going to be one of the assignments, the QFT that needs to be turned in, 1.3 QFT. And this is being done in class this day. All right, so let's go to Unit 2, or Week 2, I'm sorry. And you'll see that here we have some reflection questions that need to be turned in. And they're going to be given time in class to complete those reflection questions. And this is going to happen for every single week. So Week 3, we have some assignments here. All of the assignments are in green, and those are going to be completed in class. So you'll be able to see what assignments we're doing each week. So I have it all designated out here on the left. You see Week 3 lesson plans, Week 3 assignments, Week 3 videos for your students to be able to catch up if they were gone. And each of these assignments is talked about on a specific day in class. And so this is not me randomly assigning things to students and being like, oh, hey, we haven't even addressed this, and then you need to turn it in. Everything is talked about in class. Everything has a specific day where I'm saying, hey, work on this reflection, hey, work on this matrix, whatever it is supposed to be, so that students can then go ahead and turn it in. So all the things from Unit 1 and Unit 2 are going to be due on the same day, but that is not the day that students should turn things in. So just because they're all due on the same day doesn't mean that students should wait to turn things in. They should complete them as we go through the unit and turn them in as they get them done. And the extended deadline of being due at the end of the unit is meant to be like a grace period for if you are absent, or if you came in late to class, or if you weren't feeling well, these kinds of things, and you were not able to complete the assignment in class for whatever reason, then you have a little bit of a grace period until it's due so that you don't have to worry about the late deadline, like the day after you're gone from being sick or at an orthodontist appointment or whatever it may be. So this is the way that it's going to look on Canvas. So I mentioned in my class how things work just a little bit differently than other classes. I do this for very intentional reasons, as to encourage our students to grow in their soft skills, such as teamwork and collaboration, innovation, leadership, these kinds of things in my classroom. I personally think those are the greatest skills that I could teach our students beyond just what is aerospace engineering. I really think that those are the skills that are going to help our students be successful in college and beyond. And so part of doing that is that we are going to be in teams, in groups, doing group work the entire semester. And for some parents and students, like, you just, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're gonna be in teams. What if I'm the one who has to do all the work? Or maybe you have a student who does none of the work and you're like, yes, we're finally gonna make it this semester. And I want to address both sides of the story here, because I was the person who did all of the work in high school and college, and I was the overachiever, and if I needed an A, and so everyone else, if I had to do the work, I would do it. And so I despised group projects. And so you've got to be sitting there thinking, then what is she doing? Why is she doing this to our students? And I would love to address that right now. So the way that I get around group work for the horror that is group work in many settings is that I divide the grades into two different categories. And the summative and the formative category, as we've talked about before, are entirely dependent on your student and your student alone, which means that it does not matter how successful your student's group project is for your grade, for your student's grade. So for example, we are going to make like model satellites, and they have to undergo a shake test to simulate the vibrations that they would undergo during launch. And if your satellite completely breaks and falls apart and it fails the test and it's terrible, that does not impact your grade whatsoever. In my class, in the engineering design process, as we're going through the scientific process, it does not matter if your experiment fails or succeeds scientifically. That is not what I'm grading students on whatsoever. And so that should take the weight off of our shoulders of group work. Now, what your grade is going to be based on is two different things in the formative and summative category. I'll first address the summative category because this is what we're going to be most familiar with. In the summative category is going to be all of our documentation of our work. So every time that we do an experiment, for example, the satellite experiment, you are going to have to document your engineering design process. Why did you do what you did? How can you explain that? How did you test things? What feedback did you receive? How did that change what you did in your satellite? All right. So that normal answering questions, writing a paragraph, turning in assignments, that is going to fall into our summative category. Now, the entire formative category, which remember is 50% of your overall grade, is a teamwork collaboration grade. So what this means is that during each class period, your student is going to start out with a certain number of points for participation or collaboration. So because each person is scored individually, this means that I'm really, really, really looking for collaboration. I truly believe that when a group works together, their product is so much better than what it could be from one person individually. And this is what students are going to encounter in college and career, having to work with people you like, having to work with people you don't like, and being productive nonetheless. And so that's really what I'm trying to teach students in this formative grade. And so this is the way that I try to really level the playing field, is I try to increase our students' ability to work in teams and collaborate while still scoring them on an individual basis. And so in terms of the group work, hopefully we feel a little bit better about things now. There are still going to be challenges because a lot of classes do not score your students on their soft skills specifically. It's on their ability to regurgitate information, and that is not going to be the nature of my class. So this is still going to be a challenge for a lot of students, but I really hope it's an area of growth for our students that they can take on to their classes in the future, and that they can use to get to know their classmates better, get to know me better, and also have a lot of fun. So if you have any questions about my grading policy, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why it's laid out that way, how to help your students succeed in this environment, please reach out to me. I love to kind of push and challenge our students in this area of soft skills and things that I think they're really going to need in college and in their career. So please reach out to me via email. I would love to have a conversation about that. And I truly, truly want all of our students to succeed in my class. Hopefully that clarifies the grade shindig in my class a little bit. And like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out.